like to welcome back to our show health author and chiropractor Dr. Warren Sipser. Dr. Sipser has his own chiropractic clinic in Elwood. His book is titled 7 Things That Doctor Forgot to Tell You, and I'm very excited to discuss why we tend to put on weight during winter with him today. Thanks for coming in, Warren.
Thank you for having me again.
I think this is such a great time to be discussing this kind of topic because it's absolutely freezing outside in Melbourne at the moment, and so many people complain that they put on weight during winter.
It's a really interesting topic, and there are two sides of the story. One is people complain that it's too cold, therefore they choose not to exercise. And then the other theory that people have is that during winter they eat foods that ordinarily they wouldn't eat in the warmer months, and that's responsible for the weight gain. But the truth sits in between those two. It's actually a combination of both. So it's funny because in Queensland you would consider beautiful weather, nice, warm all the time. And so people enticed to be outdoors in the sun.
Yes.
Funnily though, Queensland has the highest state of obesity.
Yeah.
In the adult population. So it's not just being outside that's important, and that's super important, but it's also what we choose to eat. So
that's right. It's all those ice creams in summer, isn't it?
Exactly. All the sugary drinks, all the ice creams, all of those things. So we're warm-blooded creatures, and we self-regulate that temperature inside us, unlike, say, a reptile, which needs an external force to do that. So what's more comforting in winter than having a nice warm meal? It feels good. But what happens is the way the body works, just like a motor car, you need to put the same amount of petrol in the motor car as the amount you're going to expend. And in the body, physiological function is basically going to be how much energy you put in is going to be how much energy you need to put out. And so if we're going to sloth for those months, and it's hard to be outside and exercise, or it's more difficult rather to be outside exercising when it's freezing and there's a blizzard, but there are other ways of doing it. You could exercise at home, you could move your body. There are enough options around to get rid of all of the excuses people make.
Yeah.
And on top of that, it's a time when we want to be making nice warm foods, but healthy-based foods. We want to be making the broths. We want to be making the soups. We want to be using the slow cooker, but getting nutrition in that we then get to put out.
Especially because everyone's getting so sick in winter, aren't they? And, we want to keep well, so the more nutrition we're eating, the better.
Exactly. And on top of that, because it's colder and because we dress more snugly and we have more layers, we are less aware, or we choose to be less aware of how we look. And then all of a sudden, spring starts to come and the layers come off, and we look in the mirror and we go, whoa, summer's around the corner. So it's the effort we put in now.
Yeah.
So don't be thrown by the illusion that, we've got some time to sit back and not to be proactive in being healthy. Because at the end of the day, what's the point of being lean? It's not about being skinny, because you take some of the top athletes in the world, some of the people that are about to ride Tour de France, they're very lean, but they're not healthy. And so skinny doesn't equate to healthy.
No.
So if our goal is to be healthy, then we're going to be outside or inside exercising. We're going to be eating, but it's going to be nutritious food, and that's going to represent our philosophy on how we address our life.
That's right. And there are options. I know Fiona teaches yoga, and there's lots of Pilates classes, and there's so many things that you can do inside that doesn't necessarily have to be out in the freezing cold.
Exactly. And I suppose the easiest thing is commit to something. Okay? So take a bite out of the elephant rather than trying to eat the whole thing at the one time, and make somebody else responsible for part of that. So if you and I decided that we were going to do Fiona's yoga class 3 or 4 times a week, we would be holding one another accountable.
Yes.
So join somebody in your crusade to be healthy through winter, and by being healthy, you're going to be lean, or whatever's lean for you, and make yourself and somebody else around you accountable. And that's the only way to get through winter being healthy.
Well, it's true. You don't want to get, like you say, to spring and go, oh my God, I need to lose all this weight, because that isn't healthy, is it? To put on all this weight in winter and then suddenly go on these extreme diets in order to feel okay wearing less clothes.
That's exactly right. If something can sit on a shelf for a long period of time, it means that it's lost its life force. So if a food doesn't decay very quickly, it means it doesn't have any life left in it. So if we were to take a fish out of the ocean and leave it on the desk and watch it, it's going to putrefy, and it's going to, the bacteria are going to begin to oxidize it, which means that there is life, there is activity going on. If you unwrap a sweet or a chocolate bar or something like that, which doesn't mean you can't ever have those things, but that's not nutrition. That's not food that's going to give you life. You have to have life-based foods to get life out of that food.
And the vast majority of foods you do buy from the supermarket, they are all packaged.
Exactly right. And the problem is they're so cheap. And what does that tell you? You know, if it's cheap, there's a saying in South Africa, I'll just say it quickly, it says, goedkoop is duurkoop, which means if something is cheap, there's a reason why it's cheap. You know, cheap is expensive. So rather be mindful. And, you know, in the same way that nobody would put half, you know, in their motor car, they wouldn't put half petrol and half water to save on petrol. They know that would be irresponsible and would cause a thing to break down. Yet with our bodies, we're kind of less concerned about that in a funny way.
And I think people are very fixated on price for food, and it's true, you do get what you pay for, and what have they skimped on in order to give you that product so cheaply?
Exactly right. And there are enough great documentaries on that. Overfed and Undernourished is a wonderful one I saw recently. Food Matters is another one. There's so many great things that we can watch and see and show us what's actually happening behind the scenes. What you touched on yoga a second ago, my flexibility is not great. I love doing CrossFit, but I do yoga as that's basically my pass. That's my leave pass to be able to do the things that I want to do, like CrossFit. I know that I have to be able to balance that. Everything's about balance. So if I want to be able to do the things I love to do, I also have to do some of the things I don't necessarily love to do, but are going to help me to do the things I love to do. So if you want to be good and healthy in summer, you have to be good and healthy in winter. And healthy is the important word there.
When I was at a health retreat in Queensland, and one of the head fitness guys talked about these monkeys where they put a heater in. It was a zoo over in the States, and they put a heater in the enclosure because he felt sorry for them because it was so cold. And all the monkeys, gathered around this heater, and they wouldn't leave it. And one by one, they all dropped dead. Wow. And he kept, getting other monkeys and replacing them, and the same thing kept happening. And then he realised, it's the heater. Took it out, and they all started to thrive again. And what, a difference it makes in terms of we're also reliant on heaters, and we're not actually moving. Yeah. We're not doing the things that we actually become reliant on these things, and it's actually making us sick.
Yeah, the body is a kinesthetic chain, and in order to stay alive, we have to move. We're no different to any other species. We're all the same. Even sloths have to move, and they're the least active of all of the animals in the kingdom, but our bodies are designed for movement. And so leaving it and slothing and sitting around and not doing anything is unhealthy. And then we get all the things that surround being unhealthy. Overweight, undernourished, all of that sort of stuff. So at the end of the day, move and eat well.
And it gives us more energy in the end, doesn't it?
Exactly, absolutely.
Yeah, no, some really interesting information. Is it anything you would like to conclude with for our listeners?
Just to reiterate that it seems such a big, daunting task, and it doesn't have to be. Eating well, you have to eat anyway. So choose the healthier option. Yeah. Make somebody else accountable for your actions as well as yourself, and do something consistently. Do the yoga class a few times a week. Get out and go for a walk. And if it's with company, you're never, ever going to feel like it's a burden.
No, very true. Fiona wants to ask you a little question.
No, it's actually, I want to say, I've brought the 5 Tibetans into my classes, into my most therapeutic classes, and I've made a version that is, very core friendly and safe. And so I'm teaching them a 10-minute thing they can do every day to feel better. And, I've now got these people who are in their 60s, they call it bikini yoga, because I promised them that if they did it every day, by the time winter came, they'd take their clothes off and go, I don't have to lose weight this year. and now they ask me, are we doing bikini yoga? It's hilarious.
And
but they like the energy move.
That's amazing, because you've linked their highest value to something that they're responsible for. So now you've made summer the whole year for them, which is great.
But I also did everybody thinks they're time poor. So the beauty of using the 5 Tibetans is it's a 10 to 15 minute practice. You don't have to find an hour and a half when you include parking. You don't have to find that time. You can do it anywhere.
No excuses. Perfect.
That's right. Well, thank you so much for coming today, Warren. If anyone wants to know about your clinic or your book or any information about you, where can they find it?
Yep, they can. It's Chiro for Life, as in CHIRO, the number 4, LIFE.com. That's the best protocol.
Okay, thank you so much, Warren.
Thanks for having me.